it's always a challenge. This business, man. It's a hard business and getting harder. I was just talking about it with my brother Greg here, who runs this Studio Ocean, and it's this day and age. It's like it's kind of like a dying art. I hope it won't totally die, but I'm sitting here in front of beautiful vintage Neve board and just this beautiful outboard gear and these rooms and nowadays you could buy the cartoons of all this stuff at your house and you have a little cartoon of a Neve console. It's not the same thing. So the budgets are going down, which means that the bands are on the road more, and then there's so many bands out there on the road. It's hard to get your guarantees up as a new band. How do you expose yourself to so many? It's a hard business. So our challenge with Alice in Chains in 2016 is one's physical. We're getting a little bit older now, and I turned 50 this year, and I've been touring for 26 years solid. And I think there's only been maybe one summer in that 26 years that I've been home, So, every year the basses seem to get a little bit heavier. So for us, it's a question of taking care of ourselves. We've been playing together so long, that I know what Jerry Cantrell's going to do before he does it. He knows what I'm going to do. My wonderful drummer Sean Kenny, it's the same thing. It's easy for us to play together, but it's harder for us to tour. We're just getting a little bit older now, and it used to be we'd go out, do these 6 weeks in Europe, and then take a couple days off, and then at that point, we have another separate set of gear like that went to Japan. So now we're flying. Now we're meeting up with the other gear. So I'd have like 6 Warwick bases in Europe, 6 in the States, 6 in South America, 6 in Japan, for instance, and we just I jump from one set of gear to the other, and that's another thing that I love about Warwick basses. It's just so consistent, the tones. It's a lot easier for the crew guys to dial in a sound when we're not there and stuff. But so we don't do that anymore. We don't do the 6 weeks here, take a few days, 6 weeks South America, take a few days, 6 start. We'll do 3 or 4 weeks and take some time off and go see our wives and things like that, and have a life outside of it. We're in it for a marathon. We never thought when we were in our mid-20s on the Dirt album cycle, or we never thought we would be doing this at 50. So you don't think long term back in the day, but I'm just very blessed, and I'm very I thank the universe every day that we get to do this together too. We're all best friends, and it's just a really special thing for us. I'm very humbled by seeing bands like Rush 40 years into it, coming to an end, and so we know that one day could be 20 years, it could be 20 minutes, but we know that someday we won't get to come to these beautiful studios and record, and we won't get to go to these wonderful cities and play for people, so it's not a challenge. Your question was, what is the challenge? It's not a challenge, but it's more like just taking it all in and really remembering what we devoted our life to. Yeah, we do. We're very blessed with a great songwriter and Jerry, but we kind of just get together and jam a lot of stuff. He'll have a lot of ideas, which is great. We're not the type of band that gets outside writers or anything. We're not. There's a trend where you get other people to write your songs for you and stuff, and we were never that band. What you see is what you get, good or bad. That's us on the records, and that's what came out of our heads in different states of consciousness, and they ended up on, good records. I don't even look at it like hit records or #1 records or #1 songs. We've had all those blessings, but we just look at it like quality, good stuff. Is this song, good enough to go on a record. There's been albums, say like Jar of Flies, where we were in between tours, so we wrote and recorded and mixed and mastered that album in 10 days. So that's what we showed up. I think Jerry had one song. It's like the song called "Don't Follow," which is like one of the later songs on the record. But like we had nothing. We just showed up, and here's our time period. And I kind of miss those days. We don't do records like that anymore, But I wish more people did records like that. There's no budgets to go experiment like that in studios. Usually in a place like this, you have we have already worked our song. We know what we're gonna play. A couple tweaks here and there and stuff, or grooves and tones. But for the most part, we know what we're doing when we walk into these places. We try not to waste too much money. When you walk into these special cathedrals that are going away. All these places are going away. It's hard to, hard to see your favorite dinosaurs dying in the tar pit. So hopefully this place will last. Don't ever sell this place. I'll have to buy it. We'll do kegger parties to pay for it every weekend. Yeah, I'm blown away by the quality of. It's really amazing. Like I wish I had a YouTube to work on bass parts when I was in high school. In fact, Mr. Michael Berger, you were on that Rock and Roll All-Star tour. It really helped me greatly when I got a call and they said, "Would you like to come down and be part of this Rock and Roll All-Star?" We had Matt Sorum from Guns N' Roses. He put together this thing, and we all went down. It was like Gene Simmons and Joe Elliott and Sebastian Bach, Glenn Hughes. I got to play a lot of Deep Purple, which is the reason I did it. Glenn Hughes was singing, and I had Steve Stevens playing guitar on the right of me. I had Billy Duffy from The Cult playing guitar on the right of me. Steve was on the left of me. Matt Sorum was behind me, and so I had to learn these crazy Deep Purple songs, like literally days before we jumped on this private plane to go down to South America. It was a really kind of guerrilla warfare kind of tour. And then so I was like trying to learn like Highway Star, like, learn it tomorrow. And it's like, okay, so I go home. So I got on the computer on YouTube and I typed in Highway Star, and there was some kid, amazing bass player playing Highway Star. So I watched him play it, just the quality of his bass playing and everything. This kid, you could just tell he's just at home doing that, being on YouTube, learning Geddy Lee licks, learning this licks and that licks. It's they even have how to break stuff down, and I didn't have that luxury when I was a kid. You had to sit there and take the needle off and put it back, and when the record wore out, you'd have to go buy another one. But I'm learning YYZ. I don't care if it takes me 5 Rush albums. I'm gonna get through it. But now you could get on and you could stop it and loop parts, and it's just so much easier. So that is great. On that end of it, it's great. There's so many kids out there that are just immersed in this, and it's really cool to see, especially since they're pulling the funding for all the schools now. Even here in Los Angeles, they're doing, the marching bands are going away and stuff. That's where it all started for me. From music was playing clarinet and saxophone and walking through horse shit in a parade on a Saturday morning with my spats on and my funny hat, playing sax, So it's good to see that. But that being said, there's so many bands out there. It's hard. How do you find and wade through all this bullshit to get to where these good bands are? There's the only times I ever see new bands is when they're opening up for us. We just got off our summer tour, and there was just some great bands opening up for us. Alon's band from Nine Inch Nails, just wonderful people out there. And there's a band called Monster Truck that's one of my favorites from Canada. We took them out. Alon's band was called New Regime, and his brother plays bass. And it's just really good guys. But Monster Truck, I'd sneak up on stage and play with Monster Truck every night to warm up for the Alice in Chains set. I'd sneak up with the guys. So that's how I meet these newer bands. As far as older stuff, I always grew up, everything was English for me. It was all Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, of course. So it was John Paul Jones, The Who, John Entwistle. But my favorite was Dee Murray from the Elton John band. He was my favorite bass player. He's still my favorite bass player. Passed away from cancer. I've done, interviews with bass player kind of magazines, and like they didn't even know who. Like Dee Murray, oh, who's that? Like, oh man, he's like the most melodic bass player, and just such a, great. He didn't think like a bass player. He was just going, and I've talked to Elton about it. I've talked to Davy Johnstone about it, and he was always, from what I never got to meet Dee, but from what I heard, he was always the guy that wouldn't play the same thing twice. He would just jam and come up with counterpoints and counter melodies and things like that. So I was kind of aspired to be that type of bass player, more melodic and think outside of the box. But once again, it's all up to the spirit of the band. A lot of times, you got to write for the song and the situation more, and support the riff while the other guys do stuff. And that's what I loved about playing in the Aussie band is like, say we're playing some Black Sabbath songs, and a lot of that stuff is like the lead solo would go into something, and like Zach would be playing, and then there's a bass solo going on underneath it, so I get to copy the Geezer Butler kind of things. I mean, that's how I got good is, trying to, learn Black Sabbath songs and, the Who and things like that. I mean, I grew up, I went to high school from 1980 to 84, so that was more of the, besides, say, Geddy Lee, that wasn't great bass playing. I mean, there was some good bands with some good bass players and stuff, but that wasn't the golden age for, that was the golden age for guitar players, That was the guitar players who were really getting off the leash and really making a statement, the Randy Rhoads guys of the world and the Shredders coming after that in the 80s and stuff like that. But I never thought that era had special bass players. I always thought the special bass players were kind of like before that, So that's always the guys I liked, And then it was nice when it came around full circle in the 90s, and a lot of these bands up in Seattle got to, be a band for 10 years before they got signed. That was a whole special thing about Seattle, is that those guys really were learned up on their instruments and got to gel as a band before they got to be released to the world. Soundgarden was a band for, God, probably 10 years or something before they got their big, record on a major label kind of thing. And, so, the 80s kind of thing to me was a lot of manufactured bands here in Los Angeles with a lot of budgets and a lot of coked out record dudes trying to put bands together. And I never thought that, I mean, there's some bands that I guess they still play in the classic rock albums, but, I was grew up in the 80s and was, but romanticized all the bass players from the late 70s, So, yeah, in fact, today I'm leaving this studio and going to another studio, and I'm going to make a bunch of racket. And, we're hard at work. We're always doing something, I mean, that's just what we do. We just play, and usually everything else will come together. We used to worry about the label or management, and the band has turned into a, it's a business, and there's a lot going on business like so when we go into these studios, this is kind of like our clubhouse. This is the place that we go, and we try not to make this business. This is fun, and we try to make our work environment fun for each other, and I mean, being in the studio for 20 hours a day isn't fun, but it's a great job. But we try to make that our clubhouse and separate that from the business, kind of, in a way. Does that make sense? So we're still in that playing in the sandbox kind of for this new record anyways. We're still like, convenient getting together in the same city and plugging in the same room. And today's actually our first day, and I'm already late because I'm here talking to you. So yeah, it shows you how professional we still are.